Stonehenge, a familiar mystery, right? But what if right now, somewhere in Siberia, lie ruins capable of rewriting history? Who built these megaliths, surpassing anything we've seen before? Why? And why is this secret so carefully guarded? Ready for an incredible journey into a world of ancient secrets and forgotten civilizations? Megaliths are enigmatic monuments of the past, scattered throughout the world. Stonehenge, Baalbek, the Easter Island statues. Their origins are shrouded in mystery, and their purpose sometimes raises more questions than answers. But few know that in the depths of Siberia lie objects capable of eclipsing the world's most famous megalithic structures. Scientists usually consider megaliths to be massive stone structures created by collective labor using complex technologies, levers, blocks, and specialized tools. Such structures have been discovered on every continent, from South America to the Urals. There are thousands of them in Indonesia. According to Andrei Tabarev, a leading researcher at the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography of the Siberian branch of the Russian Academy of Sciences and Doctor of Historical Sciences, megaliths have always served as sacred centers, uniting people in rituals, whether burials, worship ceremonies, or harvest celebrations. Many of them are still used today, retaining a mystical aura. But what if hidden in the depths of Siberia are objects whose scale transcends conventional understanding? In Gornaya Shoria, researchers have discovered supermegaliths whose size staggers the imagination. These cyclopean blocks were discovered and first recorded by Georgy Sidorov during an expedition to southern Siberia. Their exact dimensions have not yet been measured, but based on comparisons with human figures, it can be concluded that their dimensions are 2 to 3 times larger than the largest megaliths in the world, including the famous blocks of the Baalbek Terrace. Research has shown that the megalithic walls of Shoria are composed of multi-ton blocks, perfectly fitted together. Rows of massive slabs are intersected by quartz veins, and nearby, trees grow rooted in bare rock, seemingly unable to support growth. Researchers speculate that a powerful energy center of the Earth was located here. A pyramidal structure, approximately 800 meters tall, located nearby also attracts attention. Binoculars reveal ruins arranged into a colossal geometric shape. After rain, mysterious symbols resembling runic inscriptions appear on the surface of the blocks. Individual elements of these structures bear traces of exposure to monstrous temperatures. The granite is molten, and in some places, the walls have been pierced by powerful explosions, scattering fragments hundreds of meters around. Who or what could have left these traces? For comparison, the famous Stone of the Pregnant Woman in Baalbek, one of the heaviest worked stone blocks, weighs approximately 1,260 tons. Some Siberian megaliths, according to preliminary estimates, may weigh as much as 4,000 tons. However, official science has so far refrained from commenting. Why has this discovery remained in the shadows? What's so special about it? Since the late 20th and 21st centuries, more and more hypotheses have emerged that go beyond the traditional view of history. Scientists and independent researchers increasingly suggest that Siberian megaliths could have been created using technologies that surpassed even modern civilizations. They cite photographs and videos that capture the astonishing precision of stonework, perfectly smooth edges, precise cuts, and complex slab placement patterns, clearly indicating intentional work with the rock. But if these gigantic structures are truly man-made, who built them? And what fate befell those who once inhabited these lands? Perhaps the answer lies deep beneath the layers of time, but one thing is certain. The history of Siberia is far from as simple as is commonly believed. Why is this being kept silent? Surprisingly, official science prefers not to comment. What kind of reserve power do these ruins possess? Why is the history of these places shrouded in silence? More and more attention is being paid to recommendations. Megaliths are not just natural formations. These megaliths seem to whisper ancient history, a history that someone really doesn't want us to know. Researchers of Russian megaliths have put forward various hypotheses about the methods of their construction. Some suggest that these massive structures were built not from natural stone blocks, but from a special mortar similar in composition to modern concrete. Other scientists believe that ancient builders possessed technologies that allowed them to soften hard materials to a pliable state, which explains the characteristic mattress shape of the masonry. Another theory posits that not only are the megaliths themselves man-made, but the mountains on which they are located were also artificially constructed. Seems incredible. So what technologies, then, made possible the creation of these structures? Most Russian megaliths are now in a state of ruin. The causes of this phenomenon are debated among researchers, from natural processes such as wind, rain, frost, and earthquakes, to man-made factors, including the deliberate destruction of megaliths by bombing or the impact of powerful weapons capable of melting stone. Although this theory seems fanciful, it is supported by the condition of the megaliths themselves, the rounded, melted edges of the slabs and traces of high-temperature exposure. And this applies not only to individual stone blocks, but also to enormous walls and entire complexes. Does this mean that the ancient civilization waged wars that destroyed its own cities? If so, what weapons were used? We can only speculate, but the fact remains, melting stone requires extremely high temperatures, similar to those used to create nuclear weapons. Perhaps the megalithic civilization possessed similar technologies. Why are scientists hiding this information from us? Research on Russian megaliths often intersects with the themes of the Aryans, the Vedas, and mystical teachings. The application of esotericism to the study of megaliths is explained by the fact that many questions remain unanswered. Some researchers believe that the builders of these mysterious structures were the ancestors of the Slavs, who lived thousands, perhaps even hundreds of thousands of years ago. However, many unanswered questions remain. Who erected the megaliths, when, and for what purpose? What technologies were used during the construction process? Were the megaliths isolated objects or part of larger complexes, most of which have not survived? What happened to these structures subsequently? Did they deteriorate naturally or were destroyed? What became of the civilization that created them? The similarities between megaliths located around the world, as well as their very existence, suggest a developed prehistoric civilization that existed long before any known culture. Some call it a megalithic proto-civilization, and its traces can be found in the legends of various peoples. It's enough to look at a few such objects to notice similar features recurring throughout the world. Official science in Russia either ignores or deliberately conceals information about the possible man-made origin of megaliths. Perhaps acknowledging this fact would lead to a reconsideration of not only Russian but also world history, calling into question many established theories. This would require not only the courage to acknowledge possible errors, but also the desire to deeply and impartially study the topic. The most important thing is the motivation to make every effort to uncover the truth about the true history of the Earth on which we live. Everything can be explained, especially if we resort to scientific terms and formulations. However, an explanation is not the truth, but only an attempt to comprehend it. We moderns are accustomed to trusting official science, accepting its assertions as absolute truth, but for some reason we have less faith in our own eyes and logic. Isn't this a paradox? Perhaps it's time to relearn to see the world without preconceived notions. Where, in the depths of Siberia, are those mysterious stone structures known as megaliths hidden? Their massive forms resemble the ruins of ancient buildings, and the blocks from which they are composed are striking in their precision. In the Koisky-Belogorye region, stretching between the Mana and Kan rivers, objects have been discovered whose origins are still being debated. Are these megaliths artificial, or do they feature fantastic natural geometry? Which is closer to the truth? Local legends shroud these places in an aura of mysticism. They say a human figure can be discerned on the boat rock at sunset. Could it be a trick of the shadows? Or an ancient sign left by someone higher up? Another mystery is the narrow, stepped rock, shaped like a man-made structure. A freak of nature or a relic of a bygone era. And not far from these landmarks is a rock resembling a giant mammoth. A legend or an artifact left by ancient craftsmen? There are other objects that intrigue with their unnatural regularity. The Three Brothers is a megalithic complex resembling the remains of a colossal structure. A stone wall constructed of narrow rectangular blocks rises nearby like part of a ruined building. Was it created by humans? If so, who possessed the knowledge and technology to construct such grandiose structures? The gigantic megaliths of Gornaya Shoria have attracted particular attention from researchers. Georgy Sidorov, a historian and ethnographer, claims that traces of fusion are visible on their surface, evidence of powerful thermal effects. If these are indeed building blocks, they are comparable in age and scale to the Egyptian pyramids. But who built them and why? Did a highly developed civilization exist in Siberia, whose traces are now hidden beneath layers of time? Some researchers are certain. Yes, they believe the megaliths are the remains of majestic cities destroyed by powerful cataclysms or wars. Perhaps a colossal explosion or the impact of a celestial body wiped this civilization from the face of the earth? Ancient Arab chronicles mention a country of cities in the vast expanses of Siberia. Travelers described the ruins of enormous structures constructed from massive stone blocks. They claimed that locals passed down stories of these cities from generation to generation. Coincidence? Or another link in a chain of unsolved mysteries? Sintashta, one of the largest temple complexes of antiquity, is considered older than Arkham. Archaeological finds suggest that this territory was once the cradle of an advanced culture. But the megaliths, massive and incomprehensibly ancient, may be even older. Their age extends far beyond the civilizations known to us. There's a theory that the megaliths of Siberia were part of a defensive complex erected by an unknown civilization,